Welcome everybody. We got my man Kevin Batko with us today.
What's going on, sir?
Welcome brother to the Shotcast. Today we're here to talk about hunting and gathering for your clients and sales. How to be a true hunter and a gatherer. And we brought Kevin Batko today on the show because Kevin Batko, I've had the pleasure of working with and leading for the last 4 months? 3 months?
3-4 months.
3-4 months. How long you been doing sales for?
Since 2020.
2020, and now it's 2026, 6 years in sales. When did you hit your biggest month in sales?
Here at Takers Brokerage.
Here, last month?
Yeah, last
month. Fresh in,
Yep.
6 years in the game, and he's at his peak right now, ladies and gentlemen. And he wasn't always at his peak. You've had some rough times, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and now you're finding success?
Yep, finding success.
So we're going to talk about that, man. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kevin Batko. I'm a branch manager here at Takers Brokerage, West Capital Lending. We're partnered with over 200 lenders, all wholesale pricing. You know, basically my job is to shop around to find you the lowest rate at the lowest cost, but also provide you the best service. You know, on today's episode, we're talking about hunting and gathering for the business. You know, it's easy to sit back and gather what comes your way, but once you apply the hunting, what you end up finding is that you're going to start multiplying your wins. So instead of writing 2-3 loans a day, you're starting to write 4 or 5 loans a day. And, the more submissions that you're getting, the more business that you're getting, the more referrals that you're going to get, which is ultimately going to make you more successful.
100%, man. What does that mean? You said you want to talk about hunting and gathering. What does that mean?
Yeah, so just, staying on top of the clients. They fill something out. As soon as they fill that out, that's when they're interested. It's important to, speed to lead, meaning that, if you get an inquiry, you call them, you text them, you email them. If they don't respond, you call them back an hour or two later. You shoot them another text, you try to keep engaging with them. And a lot of the time what ends up happening with this is that the clients thank you. They say, thank you for your perseverance. I was just overwhelmed. I was getting all these calls, and I'm glad that you're the one that I ended up on the phone with.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of clients, people have the persona that, my client's going to get frustrated, or, hey, my client's going to cuss me out, or, hey, I don't want to bother the client. This is sales, ladies and gentlemen. If you think you're bothering the client, this is not the right industry for you. Because if you're passionate about what you do, for example, if I sell food and I know you're hungry, why would I be bothering you to have you buy some food so you could eat to replenish yourself because you're hungry?
100%.
So whatever it is that you sell, whether it's a service or a product, you have to have the belief that what you're doing, what you're selling, what you're presenting is something your prospect needs. And if it's not, then you might not be in the right thing that you're selling. Right?
Or you got to dig deeper on the goals. You got to figure out truly why they need what you're selling. So for example, on a mortgage, if they have a first lien that's at, 2.99%, the historical all-time lows during COVID, and then they also took out a second a couple years ago that's at a 8%. You got to be the professional and, inform the client that by consolidating the two together, they're going to actually save on interest over the long run. And then if rates get cut that the way they're supposed to later in this year, you're going to be the banker reaching out and helping them out again in the future. This isn't just a one-time transactional deal. You're building a relationship.
You're talking about a two-step process. I say in sales, the sale doesn't end when the deal closes. The sale and the relationship should start when the deal closes, and it should be a sale over and over again in the future if you nurture the client right. How do you nurture the client right?
You foreshadow. You got to tell them like, hey, we're doing this here today, but I'm going to track your loan over the next 6, 12, 18 months. I'm going to reach out and we're going to do a complimentary mortgage review, and we'll just run the numbers. No big deal. We're not going to do a hard pull. We're going to do a soft pull, take a look to see where things are at, price it out, and see what your savings would be, and ultimately, what the benefit, to the loan would provide for you.
That's right. You foreshadow that you're going to be there. So I tell the client, hey, I was so, glad. So nice to meet you. So happy I was able to help you get this done. Just so you know, I'm going to be checking on you every 6 months or 3 months or every year. I'm going to be your guy for the future. But that's something that's easy and small, right?
Right.
There is a lot of layers to success in this game. So the first layer is maybe a foreshadow. What's the second layer?
The second layer after the foreshadow is, follow through. You know, you got to
Yeah.
make sure that you're actually providing and doing what you said you were going to do. Because a lot of people can say, hey, you know, we're going to get this deal done for you and I'll reach out to you in 6 months. A lot of those bankers aren't going to reach out in 6 months. So when you're the one that does, you're going to be the one that stands out, you know, to that client. They're going to be forever thankful for that service.
Exactly, the follow through. If you want to keep a client for life, you got to keep them in your web of communication. What goes in the web of communication, there's many different things that you could mix and mangle with, like checking up on them just randomly. Hey, how are things going? How's the family? How's everything going after a deal I close? So we have random checkpoints every couple of months that we automate, and sometimes we put it in the calendar and call. Holidays, easy one right there. Holiday gift cards, holiday bundles. I send a Merry Christmas to all my prospects every Christmas, even if it's thousands of them, and I get thousands of messages back.
Yeah.
God bless you, thank you, hope everything's well. How are your kids? Like just that simple holiday reminder, just wishing them a happy holiday. No sales in it, just like, you know, love, blessings, gratitude. Do it every single holiday for my clients. They love it and they appreciate it. And then there's more of the professional follow through. What's a professional follow through? You have keeping them in the web informed. Hey, guideline change. Hey, this is going on in the industry. Hey, there's a war going on outside. Here's how it affects the market. Hey, if this is a good time to invest, here's why. So educational messages like, hey, Kevin just sent me that. That was a pretty good tip. I didn't know that. Maybe I could do this. And they call you or they tell a friend or a family member, hey, Kevin sent me this. So like providing them with education and updates on what's going on in the topic. Or the last one, providing value. Just value. You know, I could send somebody, you know, here's how you figure out your effective rate, an article on that, on mixing up your desk. Hey, here's the best thing you could do with your savings right now to put your money in interest-bearing accounts. Here's the top 5 interest-bearing accounts you could use. Maybe I send it to somebody, they appreciate it, and they use it. So again, there's just random checkups, there's holidays, there's educational, and there's value. Okay,
Yeah.
those are the 4 things. Now, once you know those 4 things, you have to then go into the 12 months of the fiscal year and say, all right, on this month, I'm going to do a checkup. On this month, I'm going to do education. On this month, I'm going to do value. And then you create a system and a formula, and every single time you help a client, you just plug them into that same system and formula. Now, yeah, it takes some time to build it. Obviously, we have all that in Mastering the Mortgage World. We're going to drop that for you guys right now. Everything's already built for you. But if you want to do it on your own, too, you could do it on your own. You build it out for 12 months, and then you execute on it. And then I believe if you just religiously stay disciplined with that, you're always going to get people coming back to you. Like today, I'm at 7 deals for the day. None of them are from new people.
Right.
It's because my system is working, just funneling people in every single day.
Yeah, you did 3 deals for one client. You showed him a ton of value.
3 deals for one client because I knew his true emotional goal was to help his daughter purchase a home and invest his money because it's a crazy time in the world right now. And I told him, Tony Robbins says, poke the bear instead of run from the bear in these kind of markets. This is where millionaires and billionaires get rich. I believe when there's chaos outside, that's the time you invest and make big stretches in your portfolio. And at the same time, I believe in sales or any career that you're in, when there's chaos going on outside, don't fold when everybody else is folding. Oh, the world's crazy. We don't know what's going to happen. Like, no, forget all of that. Focus on what's in front of you, dominate it, and prove that you could dominate in any condition in the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether the market's high or the market's low, I always sold the same exact way. I always woke up with the same exact passion and energy. The market never affected who I was. The market is in your mind. That's
Yeah.
what I believe.
100%.
So that's a part of hunting and gathering.
Yeah.
What else is part of hunting and gathering?
Well, hunting and gathering, you know, reaching out to your clients, you know, that, you know, aren't reaching back out to you, or, you know, the ones that come right, you know, into your realm, you know, for sales. I'd say another thing about hunting and gathering would be not just your clients, but also the people that are on your team working on the file to get it cleared to close, such as your underwriters or your processors. You know, hunting and gathering applies to your clients, but it also applies to the people that are on your team. You got to make sure that everybody is, you know, in line so that you're going to provide the best service possible.
Yeah, I think that's important, man. Being likable. I think that's what you're talking about. I think you have to be likable. Don't be a prick. Don't be an ass to the people that you work with, right? If there's anybody in your ecosystem that assists you on getting your deals processed, getting your deals closed, you know, have a good reputation with them. You know, like Angel does a great job with that.
Yeah.
He gets some, you know, coffee and donuts and lunch, and the way he talks to them, they all got friendships with him. He gets his deals closed because of that. And a lot of people, like, people don't like working with them or talking to them. And like, if the people on your internal team don't like working with you or talking to you, it's most likely your clients probably don't like working with you and talking to you. And that's a big thing with hunting and gathering. You could hunt, you could prospect, you could have speed, but if you get somebody on the phone or talk to somebody face to face and they don't like you, you have to fix that. You have to look in the mirror and ask, why are people not liking me? Why?
Yeah, you have to be likable. For example, if you're, not being very pleasant to somebody that's on your team, when you call them, they might not take your call. And, if you are, nice to them and they do take your call, that's just going to increase your speed to getting the client to the closing table.
Yeah, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I believe try to leave a good impression and do something a little extra in every aspect of your business so people are like, this person's high level. I love working with them. They're always on top of their stuff. And with your clients, you have to be likable in a sense where, like, a lot of times the conversation with a lot of salespeople is so dry and tense, and they lose a lot of deals because they're gripping the bat too tight. You say that all the time.
Yeah.
I think you were gripping the bat too tight in the beginning of the year, and maybe you kind of let go of that and you got looser and more comfortable. And I feel like that's when you started rolling, right? So I think a lot of people that are gripping the bat too tight, the clients, it doesn't feel like a natural interaction. It doesn't feel like a friendship. It feels more like, hey, I'm the salesperson. I'm trying to sell you something. And there's friction. How do you break that friction? There's a lot of different ways you could break it. You could have an icebreaker. You could say a joke. You could share a story. Like, it's the same thing as dating. That's what sales is. If you're on a date and I talk to you about, like, I bust a joke about kids and you're like, yeah, I don't have any kids, never wanted any kids, I'm not going to keep talking about kids. I'm like, all right, pivot to something else, sports. No sports. Okay. So, like, I'm going to keep going until I find what it is that gets you comfortable or makes you smile or makes you laugh. I'm like, I found something. Let me go a little deeper in here. And that's how you start, breaking and building trust and boundaries. You figure out what that client likes and you build a friendship with them. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect is don't just build a friendship and forget about what you're doing. You're the professional. So as I'm building a friendship, I also dig deep and figure out why they need this. What's the pain points? What's the pleasure points? I share my pain points. I share my pleasure points. And that helps me figure out what theirs are. And then as soon as I figure that out, then I go ahead and say, okay, this is this person. If I was their therapist, their attorney, their counselor, their life coach, because that's what I envision myself. Great salespeople, I think that's what you need to be. You're not a salesperson. You're a life coach, you're an attorney, you're a counselor, you're whatever the hell your client needs you to be.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, I say ace of all trades. I killed the jack. So you need to be that for your client. So at the end of it, it's like you guide them. Like, hey, based off what you talked to me about, here's what's going on in your life. Here's why I think this makes sense. Here's what happens after we do this. And here's how your life's going to look in the future with your product or service. And that's how you sell, and that's how you close somebody every single time.
Yep, you got to educate. We're the professional in this situation, so we got to make sure that, they know what they're doing and why it makes sense. And, it's not a sale. Then it's a benefit.
So you tell me that I inspire you a lot. I tell you that you inspire me a lot. You inspire me to inspire you. I say that all the time. I'm going to tell you one thing that's inspirational about you, and I haven't told you this before. You're the uncommon amongst the common. And here's what I mean by that. What do you think I'm going to say?
I'm not sure.
The one thing that makes you stand out is you're dialed in and you're fucking focused.
Yeah.
It doesn't take skill. Doesn't take talent. I'm not talking about anything related to the career or the job or the attributes that you bring to the table. All I'm talking about is you're dialed in and you're focused. You came in today at 7 a.m. You've been at your desk all day. You've been talking to clients all day. Every time I look at you, you're presenting. You don't turn your head to the left. You don't turn your head to the right. You're literally focused. And I feel like out of the 100% of people we have, maybe 25% of them have something like that focus, and maybe only 5% have that deep focus that guys like me and you have, maybe a couple others out there. What is that, man? And will you ever not that focused? Because I have a hard time trying to make people that are not that focused. I'm
just lasered in. I want to continue to sharpen my pencil and improve my craft. And I think one way about doing that is being on the phone, not just with clients, but with account executives and digging deeper on, different loan products and, different types of, situations and solutions we can provide to the client. But when I'm on the phone, I'm selling, on the phone with Rocket, figuring out how to get this loan cleared to close. There's multiple different, things that I'm out there doing when I'm on the phone.
Yeah, but what is it? Why don't you jerk around out there? Why don't you have more breaks? Why don't you go on TikTok when you're at your desk? Why aren't you taking random calls from friends? Why aren't you in your group chats? Why aren't you on fantasy football? What is it that keeps you focused? What's behind the engine?
I think it's my why.
What's
my
under the
goals.
engine?
You know,
What's under the hood? I mean, what's under the hood?
V8 supercharge.
Yeah.
But honestly, you know,
It is a V8 supercharger.
yeah, oh yeah, it's got that Shelby motor in it. Yeah, you already know, in the truck. But yeah, no, I mean, you know, it's my goals. You know, I look at my numbers and, you know, they're amongst the top of the team. You know, I'm still not satisfied. You know, what's that one saying? It's, you know,
Always grateful, never satisfied.
yes, always grateful, never satisfied. Super grateful, you know, the opportunity to work for Takers and with, you know, Sharaf. He's been a huge inspiration to my life and, you know, to my profession. But, you know, not satisfied as far as what I can do, because I know my potential and I'm just, you know, now starting to, you know, peak, and we're only going up from here.
What's behind that, though? What's driving that? Because everybody out there is going to say that. They're going to say, like,
Oh, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I really, I'm not satisfied with my numbers, and I want more.
but they're not dialed in and they're not focused like you. So what does it look like to you if you continue to hit $100,000 months, you break $1 million this year? What does that mean for you in your life? Like, is it pleasure that's driving you? Are you running from pain, or are you running towards pleasure?
I'm running towards pleasure. You know, I come across this saying that, you know, stack in your 20s, build in your 30s, retire in your 40s. And, you know, that's possible here at Takers Brokerage, along with mastering the mortgage world. Great content in there. I had the chance to go through some of that myself, and it's put together, you know, super well for anyone. If you don't understand mortgages or you're looking to get into mortgages, mastering the mortgage world is the place to start.
Dropping me a market. We don't even market mastering the mortgage. We're like Tesla. We don't drop any ads. We don't drop any marketing. Look, the book is the juice. The virtual training gives you everything you need. Get in there if you're smart and stay out if you're not. But the thing has everything you need. And Kevin Back will start it off with that. But you actually took the information and did something with it.
Yeah, you gave me a planner too, which is, you know, something that I use on a daily and weekly basis. You know, when I come in for the week, you know, I got a fresh, you know, week for the planner to fill out, you know, what I'm going to do and how many dials I'm going to make and, you know, how many clients I'm going to, you know, try to, you know, enroll that day. And I think that, you know, by, you know, foreshadowing to myself what my day is going to look like, you know, then when I'm there at the end of the day, you know, I can pat myself on the back and, you know, go home and enjoy a nice dinner and relax and hang out with the family and, you know, take some time for myself too. Because that's a part of, you know, not gripping the bat too tight. You know, you can work a lot, you can work all day, but make sure that you take some time for yourself as well. It's important.
All right. And then you did have some time where you had some off months. Maybe you weren't as focused or dialed in. Like, I remember one time I went to your desk, you didn't even know how to blast your prospects. You're like, what is this? I never did this before. And I'm like, what? Come on, man. Like, this is like day one stuff, right? But like, when you weren't having the best months ever, even before the adversity and any of that, what do you think was holding you back then from this Kevin now, from that Kevin there?
I was just still figuring it out. You know, I was newer to West Capital, so, you know, I needed some time to get familiar with the portals and the different lenders. I worked at Rocket for about a half a decade, you know, so I was familiar with them. And, you know, I'd say I send about, you know, 75% of my business to them currently. So I wasn't, you know, so much needing to figure out what to do with Rocket. But as far as lending pad submissions, I went and passed the self-processing test. So I self-process a lot of my own files, you know, but as my pipeline continues to grow, it's, you know, starting to become something where I need to, you know, hire a loan originator assistant, somebody to, you know, back me up and help me dial and help me continue to dominate.
Yeah, so you're on the next level now. You know, we preach this at Takers Brokerage. You could come into our retail channel where you go W-2 for a year, you prove yourself, and then you could eventually go to our 1099 business owner model where we give you all the resources, we give you the support, you pay for your own stuff at cost. We don't make any money off you. Give you the same exact cost that we pay. You pay for everything. You're able to spend $10,000 and potentially make up to $100,000 a month into your business. And then you start building a team, which is the next level. You start building an assistant, a processor, a dialer. And then you build your team up so that way you got a bunch of backhoes running around building your pipeline, building your team, and you're living the dream. You're proof in the pudding, brother. So we appreciate it. We appreciate you. What questions do you have for me? Anything on your mind that I could answer for you?
What is your why? What drives you? You know, because you're a different beast, right? You come out, you know, you wrote 7 loans today. You know, you got more apps than, you know, the team. You know, I'm trying to catch up to them. I'm at 4 myself. But, you know, you just have this incredible drive. You come into the office, you're also laser focused, and you're on top of your clients. You got 50 different tabs opened up for each and every client, and if you're not receiving a response, you're calling or shooting another text to keep them engaged.
The ultimate drive for me is freedom, you know, and I say freedom, and I could kind of have the freedom now, but I still find myself in this office most of the days. But freedom in a sense where, as a leader, I'm showing what's possible because I'm on the floor. I think great leaders are joining their troops in the battle zone every single day. I haven't sat at my desk in 90 days. I've been sitting on the floor, right? Pitching deals. I'm on like speaker and on the microphone all day long on Zoom. Like only place I go where nobody could hear me is the bathroom to take a leak. You know, everywhere else I'm live. So people, like, even if you're in Hawaii working with me, you know exactly who I am. You know exactly how I joke. You know exactly how I talk. You know exactly when I'm talking to my family. I'm talking to my mom about bills. You know everything I'm doing because I don't hide anything. I'm on the floor. So I think to show that to the team, it's something that hopefully they appreciate and they see it and they're like, all right, this guy's in the battlefield with us. He's not just talking from the top barking. So I think that's important when you're building a business, and we're in a pivotal year right now. We're going to build this thing to a couple hundred people, and it's happening very fast. So I feel like I have to be here. It's not the time to take the foot off the gas. At the same time, like you said, pleasure, right? The pleasure points are, you know, like I want to have seminars across the country. I want to keep inspiring, changing people's lives. I want to build this to an army of virtual people all across the country that could change their lives and their families' lives. So I guess the drive for me is like the pivotal year that I'm in. I feel like this is a year where we can make massive growth. And I'm grateful as well. I've had a lot of massive growth and I've accomplished a lot in my lifetime. But this is where everything leads up to. And every year it feels that way, but this year just feels a little different. It's a big year and there's a lot to accomplish. And it's either you go big or you go home. So I have no choice but to go big. And that's because of the pleasure of where this could lead to and what it does for everybody's life that's associated with it. Its impact at another level. And that's what drives me every single day.
Yeah, that's a great response.
Yeah. That's the truth.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Well, Kevin Batko here, ladies and gentlemen. He is one of our top takers. Just won the helmet for February. He's fighting in March Madness. Hopefully you win it. If he does win March Madness, not only does he get a nice fat cash prize, but there's also another contest that he might win. He's winning it right now to take the vacation home down in Florida for a nice weekend, plane tickets paid for. Nice big house, 5 bedrooms by yourself. Get wild. Do what you need to do there. Keep it clean. Kevin Batko, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks. Appreciate you.